Good morning. Welcome to Unity Center of Pittsburgh. So honored to be with you this morning. My name is Maryann Hackworth, and I serve as the spiritual director here. This is an exciting day for us at Unity. We have a wonderful room full of friends and guests from the Association for Research and Enlightenment. We have a special guest speaker this morning, Dr. Doug Knueven, and he is going to be providing our message today, our lesson, which is about healing. And the title is Healing with Divine Light and Love. And it's really interesting to me, and that's why I'd like to tell you in the opening remarks that Unity is founded on the practice of healing. So for those of you that may be new to Unity, back in 1886, a woman by the name of Myrtle Fillmore found herself in a state of despair. She was 40 years old. She had 3 young children. She had married at the age of 35 to a gentleman named Charles Fillmore. And they had 3 little boys in quick succession. Charles was 10 years younger than Myrtle. So at the age of 40, she was diagnosed after many years of being sickly and seeing herself as a sickly person. She was diagnosed with tuberculosis. And they had traveled, they had moved to drier climates. They had really exhausted all that medicine could provide for them at the time. At the suggestion of friends, the encouragement of friends, she attended a workshop, a lecture in Kansas City. A lecture, much like today, on the power to heal through your own thoughts, words, and actions. And she said, in her own words, I wanted to share with you Myrtle's words because they're so powerful. She said, "It flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body, and I got marvelous results." She said, "I must have been fully ready for this initial lesson, for it filled and satisfied all the empty, hungry longings of my soul and my heart." She said, "The physical claims that had been considered such a serious nature faded away before the dawning of this new consciousness, and I found that my body temple had been literally transformed through the renewing of my mind." So imagine my excitement when I got a copy of Doug Knueven's article, which was written in Venture Inward magazine, which is the magazine for Edgar Cayce Association for Research and Enlightenment. It was shared with me by Kenna Raymond. Kenna's in here somewhere. And I really appreciate that, Kenna, because it was a powerful article. And when I got to this line, Doug, you said, "We know that every living being is full of divine energy and equipped with the template for a perfect body temple. Perhaps healing is about using intention to acknowledge and awaken the divine within the individual." It was like perfect unity. And I was so excited. I'm like, we have to get Doug Knueven to come and do a workshop or do a lesson for us and talk to all of us today. So we're excited that you are with us. We welcome you afterwards to stay for some refreshments, and we hope that this is the first of many visits to Unity Center of Pittsburgh. We start each Sunday with our vision and our mission. For Myrtle and Charles affirmed that the power of words and the power of thoughts create our reality. So I'd invite you to join with me intentionally as we recite our vision. We envision a spiritually awakened world flowing with divine love. Can you do it one more time? We envision a spiritually awakened world flowing with divine love. And imagine what that would be like for you and for me and for all of humanity. And our mission here at Unity Center of Pittsburgh, we can read together. We are an inclusive, loving, growing community dedicated to teach, inspire, and practice positive spiritual living. And so we do. Our wonderful musician this morning, Ronnie Weiss, a member of Unity Center of Pittsburgh, is going to open up for us. And feel free to join in. Stand if you feel like it. It's Stayed on Spirit.
Wonderful to see everyone. Good morning. This is it's an up-tempo tune, so feel free to get in the spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. All day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. All day long I keep my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Last verse. You ought to wake up in the morning with your mind stayed on spirit. Wake up in the morning with your mind stayed on spirit. Wake up in the morning with your mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. One more. Yeah, bravo, everybody, bravo.
Woo! You bet. We know we are spirit. You know you are a divine expression of this mighty spirit that some call God, the divine creator. So let us move into a morning prayer. With a beautiful cleansing breath, let us just center for one moment and say, thank you, divine creator. Thank you, Spirit. We are so grateful for this beautiful day, for this beautiful expression of life that we are. We affirm it. We live it. We bring forth our joy into the world. And when we look upon another human being, we know and recognize that they are spirit. We affirm that for them, even if they are not yet aware of it. And so we allow ourselves to be spirit more fully, more wisely, and more joyfully. And Ronnie will guide us into a beautiful melody as we now sing together, You Are the Face of God.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love.
Beautiful. as we know one another for what we truly are, I'd like to now light our Christ candle. Every Sunday we have this practice that we light a single candle, and this single candle is simply a reminder of oneness, of the one power, the one creative energy that is you and I and all things. And we do remember the words of Jesus, the master teacher, who said, "You are the light of the world." Let that be a reminder.
All right, this is our next song, This Little Light of Mine, which is perfect after the candle. If you want to stand, stand. If you want to sing, sing. If you want to play, play, whatever. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of yours, you're gonna let it shine. This little light of yours, you're gonna let it shine. This little light of yours, you're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Bravo, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, yes. We do let that light shine. We let it shine as we grow in our consciousness, in our evolved state of awareness, that we are all becoming more and more fully with each and every day, with each and every breath. So I'd like to go to the slide, Mac, on our principles, which I somehow skipped. Yeah. I'm just excited, kind of jittery this morning. Let's read them together if you're comfortable reading with us. God is the source and creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is good and present everywhere. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking. Through prayer and meditation, we increase our conscious contact with God, bringing forth love, wisdom, health, prosperity, and everything good. Knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. So for those of you who are new to Unity, those are the principles that were designed, if you will, or created by the Fillmores. They never intended, this is not a religion, this is a spiritual philosophy, a spiritual movement. And people pressed upon them to say, what is your tenet? You know, what is your principle? And they said, okay, then we'll summarize these. And that's where the principles come forth. And I'm especially drawn to that last principle that says, we know these principles, we know the truth of our essence, and now we must live it. And so we do. You bet. So I would like to invite Jan Kalin to come up and do our daily word and blessing.
Good morning. So as you can see, today's daily word is I bless myself when I let go and let God. So our daily word is let go, let God. If I find myself ruminating over a concern or a weighty decision, I release its grip on my attention by letting go and letting God. When I let go, I am placing my trust in divine mind, the source of infinite potential. I believe there are solutions and remedies of which my limited human mind simply cannot conceive. When I let God, I am trusting the grace of God will bless my life in the most wondrous and even surprising ways. Letting go and letting God is how I live my faith. I surrender to spiritual truth, the presence and power of God. I believe the best outcome is going to be so much better than anything I can imagine. I affirm, I let go and let God and relax into knowing I am deeply loved and abundantly blessed. And from John, do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. So I invite you to join me in repeating our daily affirmation. So with me, I bless myself when I let go and let God. I bless myself when I let go and let God. I bless myself when I let go and let God. And now our blessing of the children. Bring into your mind the children in your lives, family and friends. Hold in your heart the children you know and love. Feel that love expand to every child throughout the world. May all children know and share God's love to move confidently through their own divine selves, full of imagination, creativity, and love. May they receive praise, gratitude, and encouragement, and always be loved as their true spiritual selves. And may they learn to let go and let God into their lives. We recognize and honor all children everywhere. We send our light and love to every child and bless them as the true light of God. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan. We're now actually going to be moving into a special song by Ronnie Wise. Our meditation is going to be a part of Doug's message today, so we're going to move on after your song. We'll move into Doug's workshop.
So I imagine most of you are familiar with this song. I've always liked it. The words are really beautiful. Sometimes when you see it in the movie, you kind of get lost in Julie Andrews' soaring vocal, and I when I was practicing it, I was like paying attention to the words that are really, really lovely. So here it is. The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill my heart with the sound of music. My heart wants to sing every song it hears. My heart wants to beat like the wings of the birds that fly from the lake to the trees. My heart wants to sigh like a chime that flies from a church on a breeze. To laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones on its way. To sing through the night like a lark who is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more. Thank you. Thank you.
Ronnie, that was just beautiful. Such a beautiful reminder in those lyrics, wasn't it? So lovely. It is now time for me to give a proper introduction to our guest speaker. Dr. Doug Knueven came all the way to us from Latrobe. Beaver. It's not a proper introduction, Maryann. I don't know where it came from. He came from Beaver. He is a practicing veterinarian whose animal care includes a range of holistic treatments, from veterinary acupuncture to homeopathy. He is also the author of a book entitled The Holistic Health Guide, Natural Care for the Whole Dog. And you can learn more about his work at beaveranimalclinic.com. And Doug Knueven is also a very active member of the Association for Research and Enlightenment, and I hope that you can explain more to us today about that in your message. So welcome, Dr. Doug. We're so happy to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Maryann, for inviting me here this morning, and thank you all for being here. I want to start off by saying namaste. Namaste. The divine within me honors and recognizes the divine within you. So I am a holistic veterinarian, but I wasn't born that way. I went to Ohio State University and graduated from their vet school, and I had my syringes in one hand and my pills in the other hand, and I was going to cure the animals. And then I ran into something that, I don't know, you might be familiar with it, something called the real world. It's like when you're in school, everything's black and white, right? And then all of a sudden you get out in the real world and you're faced with shades of gray. Sometimes it seems like there might be as many as 50 shades of gray. Nope, sorry. That one slipped out. I'm sorry about that. So shortly after being in practice, I realized that things didn't always go the way the books said they would go. And I would give pills, and instead of the animal getting better, they would get sick. They'd have side effects. Or on the other hand, there could be an animal that, according to the textbook, this one's supposed to pass away, and somehow it revives and lives. And I realized there had to be more to health and healing than what I learned about in veterinary school. And it was about this time that I was also introduced to the Association for Research and Enlightenment by my wife. On our first date, she took me to a study group meeting, which I don't know. How many people here are familiar with ARE and Edgar Cayce? Most, but not all. Okay. So I started exploring alternative medicine. I started off with acupuncture. I learned how to do acupuncture on animals, and I always joke that when I was learning to do acupuncture on animals, I couldn't practice on the animals. I mean, these were my patients. That would be malpractice. I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to practice on my wife. So Judy has been my partner and my guinea pig through a lot of this. And the Cayce readings were really an inspiration to me in my journey into holistic medicine. Edgar Cayce was active in the first half of the 20th century. He was the most documented psychic in the world. He did over 14,000 readings that were meticulously transcribed, and they're all computerized now and can be easily searched. Many, many books have been written about Edgar Cayce's life. His main mission, starting off similar to Unity, was with healing. He wanted to help heal children, especially, but throughout the years, he had his hand in a lot of different healing, where he would give psychic readings basically as a medical intuitive and help people with natural remedies for whatever they were dealing with. Because back in those days, there weren't a lot of drugs for remedies, and now we're starting to learn the shortcomings of drugs, the side effects, and the fact that even antibiotics are becoming less effective because of overuse. So there's still a real call for holistic healing in many ways. Over the years, as Edgar Cayce was giving readings, someone who was interested in philosophy got a hold of him and thought, well, if he can answer questions about the human body and all of these things, maybe he can answer more deep questions. And so he started asking, the readings depend on the question that's asked. And so if the question wasn't asked, you can't know the answer from the readings. But this gentleman started asking about past lives. And when this information came through Edgar Cayce, one thing you have to realize is he was not conscious when he was giving the reading. So after the reading, he would have to be told about what he had just said. And when he was told that what he had just said was about reincarnation and karma and all of this, he really had a hard time. He struggled with that because he was a very Christian man. In fact, he read the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, all the way through once for every year of his life. So daily Bible reading was part of his spiritual growth. And you'll see that as I talk about some of the readings, as I show you some of the readings, a lot of them are couched in very biblical kind of language. So the spiritual information came through Edgar Cayce, and as he went on with his work, there were people who gathered around him who wanted to really explore the spiritual side more. And that's where the ARE study groups have come from. They're kind of small group work with the readings to develop yourself spiritually. Throughout this work, there developed the need for an organization. And that organization eventually became the ARE, the Association for Research and Enlightenment. It's headquartered in Virginia Beach, and we're still very active today. We have a chapter here in Pittsburgh. We have a couple of members of our team and also members of our community here today, so I'm glad to see you all as well. So I am a holistic veterinarian, and I don't know if it troubles anyone that holistic is spelled with an H. I mean, to me, that must mean that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Now, I actually wasn't sure if I could even show this slide this morning at a Sunday service, but it did pass the censors, so we got in there. But where did the H come from? Why is holistic spelled with an H? Right? So it comes from the Greek word holos, which means whole, as in W-H-O-L-E. But holistic medicine, the word holistic was coined actually by a South African statesman back in the 1920s, and he was talking about natural systems that naturally form integrated wholes. From what I was able to tell, it was first applied to medicine by the American Holistic Medical Association, which was founded in 1978. In fact, three of the five founding members of the AHMA were ARE members. The founding president was Dr. Norm Shealy, and he's still working today, I believe. And so the ARE has a lot to do with holistic medicine in the United States, and in fact, in a medical journal, Edgar Cayce was called the father of holistic medicine in the United States. So here's a picture of Edgar and one of his, famous principles. The spiritual is the life, the mental is the builder, the physical is the result. And most of the people in this room, I think, might know about like slides, the old-fashioned slides where you'd have a projector. So one way to think of this is that the light is the spirit, the slide is the mind, and then the image on the wall is the physical. So that's kind of a way of conceiving of what he's talking about here. But this is kind of holistic medicine at its base, right? Mind, body, spirit. He's got it all right there in that saying. So how can we apply this to healing? According to the readings, and I wanted to point something out. You'll notice the reading number. It says reading and then there's a number. Because this information was given for individual people, and some of it was quite private. When they started publishing these readings, they wanted to keep the recipient of the reading anonymous. So they assigned them a number. So the first number is the number of the individual. The second number is the number of the reading. So if this person had gotten 3 readings, then this might be 3312-3. So however many readings in that series is where that number, the second number, comes from. So again, all healing comes from the divine within. And then going further into the Cayce readings, he says, "Know then that the force in nature that is called electrical or electricity is that same force ye worship as creative or God in action." Well, that's kind of weird. I mean, maybe he was having an off day today. God is electricity. What could that mean? No. Okay. Apparently he said it in more than one reading. So electricity or vibration is that same energy, same power ye call God. Not that God is an electric light or an electric machine, but that vibration that is creative is of that same energy as life itself. And then he goes on in another reading, "For all life is electrical energy." So there's a certain consistency that's coming up here. Spirit is the life, and God is electricity, and electricity is life. So there seems to be this connection between spirit and electricity. I guess that's where I'm trying to go here, or where the readings are trying to go. And when you think about the body, there is certainly a lot of evidence that electricity has a lot to do with life. So if you look at the mitochondria, which are the cellular organelles that actually produce the power. So there's around 1,000 mitochondria per cell. They make up about 1/10 of the cellular total volume, and they're responsible for producing ATP in the body, which is what the energy source for all of the enzymes in the cells that allow for life. And the way that the mitochondria work is they're pumping positive charges outside of themselves and negative charges inside themselves. And it's this difference in electrical polarity. Basically, the mitochondria itself acts as a battery to charge the ATP to run the body. So the basic energy of the body is coming from electricity. But it's even more interesting than that, because the cell does the same thing. Across the cellular membrane, we're pumping positive charges out so that the inside of the cell is relatively negative compared to the outside of the cell. And I should have warned you ahead of time that I was going to get into science with this, and I apologize in advance, but hang in there with me. It's going to get a little worse, and then it's going to get better. So I'm just being honest. So this difference in cellular polarity also charges things that are going on within the cell. So maintaining this electrical gradient is essential for the life of the cell. And the cell is the basic unit of life of the body and the organism itself. But it goes even more deeply than that. So the surface of our body, our skin layers, the layers of skin, those cells are pumping positive charges deep into the tissue so that the surface of our skin is relatively negative compared to the inner surface of our skin. And what happens is when there's a wound, then that creates an electrical current. And an electrical current changes the electrical field of the body. They've done studies where they've hooked electrodes up to people and then made a small incision, and they found that before the body can respond to this cut, there's a change in the electrical field, and that has led scientists to believe that it's actually the change in the electrical field that triggers the body's healing response. So in this way, electricity is related to healing. Now I'm going to shift gears slightly. How many of you have heard that DNA is the blueprint of the body? Right, and it seems obvious, except, riddle me this, Batman. If DNA is the blueprint of the body, and every single cell has the same DNA, how did my brain end up here and my liver end up down here? Basically, the DNA is an ingredient list. The DNA codes for various proteins, but in different cells of the body, different DNA is turned on to make that cell what it is. Does that make sense to everybody? So there's something beyond the DNA that is actually causing it to turn off and on the right genes for the right body parts to be in the right place. What is that something? It turns out that it's the body's bioelectric field. So again, all of this comes from research, but basically what they found is that if they mess with the electrical system of an embryo, they can change where organs form. So they actually have caused this tadpole to have an eye in the back of his head simply by monkeying with the electricity on the surface of the embryo. So that kind of gives you the power of electricity, or the importance of electricity in the body, but it actually goes farther than that. So this is based on the work that was done by Robert Becker. He wrote a book, probably 20 or 30 years ago now, called The Bioelectric Body. So a regenerator is an animal that if you amputate the limb grows back. That's a salamander. A non-regenerator is an animal where if you amputate the limb, it doesn't grow back. An example of that is the frog. They're both amphibians, but one can grow a leg back, one can't. We all learned about this in grade school. We thought, wow, that's really cool. But did you ever think of how amazing that is? I mean, salamanders are small and their legs are small, but they have blood vessels and bones and muscles and tendons and joints and nerves and lymphatics, and all of that has to be perfectly arranged. There's nothing there that we can see to help it arrange itself. So what Becker did was he amputated a salamander's leg. Well, first he did these amputations, and he realized that there was a difference in the electrical field at the stump of amputation between a frog and a salamander. So he said, He amputated the leg of a salamander. He artificially mimicked the frog's electrical field, and the leg didn't grow back. And he said, well, wait a minute. So he amputated the leg of, wait a minute, which did I just say? The salamander. Okay, so then he amputated the leg of the frog, and he mimicked the salamander's electrical field, and he got the limb to grow back. And in fact, they've also done this research on young laboratory animals. I can't remember if it was mice or rats. And they found that they have to be young enough that they have stem cells to be able to form the different tissues. And they didn't get the leg to grow all the way back, but they got some regrowth of the leg. And there are researchers that are still working on this today. So you talk about healing and electricity. Maybe Edgar Cayce was onto something here. And in fact, this one study kind of sums it all up. Endogenous direct current electric fields are important fundamental components of development, regeneration, and wound healing. So this is all science now. What Cayce had to say in the 1930s and 40s, is really scientifically shown. And what I would say is that it's actually the body's electric field, not the DNA, that is the blueprint for the body. And I believe that we all are endowed with this blueprint that manifests electrically, but I believe is powered by spirit. Like that's kind of the interaction between the spirit and the body. And that's what Cayce meant when he said that basically God was electricity in action in a body.
Wouldn't that be called the astral body?
The astral body, I kind of think of it as the aura. Some people see it as an aura. The astral body, you're probably right. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Because it's an exact copy of the body.
Right. So now I'm going to get even a little more wonky on you. And we're going to try to integrate this. So bear with me. NRGs are random number generators. And there was research done at the Princeton Engineering Anomalies and Research Laboratory. They ran a 12-year study. They did over 1,000 experiments, experimental series, 4 different categories of random devices. So let me explain this a little bit. A random number generator is basically an electronic coin flip. And you either get a 0 or a 1 on the computer. And what they had subjects do was intentionally try to get more 1s than 0s or more 0s than 1s. So you have this person, beaming their mental energy into this computer that's running thousands of these coin flips in a second. And so with all of these trials, they were able to really find out some interesting things. So there were several different protocols. Sometimes the operators were removed from the machines, and sometimes the operators exerted efforts at times other than when the machine was in operation. So let me explain that. So the person didn't necessarily have to be right in front of the machine. They could be in another room or in another building. Also, they can run the random number generator and then have a subject influence the results, and it worked. Time and space are not as, constant as we think they are. According to Edgar Cayce, there is no time and space in the ultimate reality. And this research is really bearing it out. Now, this is where we're going to get a little bit wonky, because I need to explain the difference. When a scientist says something is significant, they mean that it is statistically significant. And they measure the statistical significance with a p-value. So that p-value is basically a mathematical computation based on the number of trials that were done to determine whether this could have happened. It could have just been chance. I mean, maybe you flipped four heads in a row and it was just chance. How do you know your mind made that happen? Well, they did enough studies that the p-value was 3.5 to the negative 13th, which is a 0.12 zeros and then 3.5. A significant p-value is anything less than 0.5. So this is like significant out the wazoo. There's no medical research that has this level of significance. When you're trying a new drug, they don't have a p-value like this. But the effect size was extremely small, 10 to the negative 4th. So in other words, if you put this into like coin tosses, if you did 1,000 coin tosses, you would expect to get 500 heads and 500 tails, right? Statistically. But things don't, this is random, things never really come out exactly that way, or I shouldn't say never, but it would be not uncommon to have 499 heads instead of 500. And you would say, well, okay, that's just chance, that can happen. But if that consistently happens when someone is trying to make that happen, even though it only happens 1 in 1,000, it can be statistically significant if you have thousands of people doing that. Okay, so that's the wonkiest thing I had to get through, and maybe I over-explained it, but hopefully that makes sense. So we're talking about a very subtle effect on this electrical system. But what they're showing is that there is no doubt, the p-value is so low, there is no doubt that the mind can affect electrical systems in a computer. And like I said, there were several different ways that they did that in this study. But they've also looked at distant mental influence on living systems. Now we're getting a little more interesting. So they had an agent who would send an intention to a target who was in a separate room. And the target was hooked up to electrodes that would measure the conductivity of the skin. How well can the skin conduct electricity? And it's really kind of a measure of the autonomic nervous system. So the person didn't necessarily know they were being influenced, but their body knew. Whether or not they knew consciously, their body knew. So there were random test periods. There were two meta-analyses done. You can see that the one has, I mean, they both have significant p-values. The one with the 0.0000007, in those studies, the agent were self-identified psychics or healers. In the second meta-analysis, in those studies, the agents were just people off the street who probably didn't even believe in this BS. So everyone has this ability to influence another individual, and it seems like people who self-identify as psychic, maybe they know what they're talking about. A subset of those studies was actually staring. Now, probably everyone in this room has had this experience where you feel like someone's looking at you and turn around and someone is looking at you. Well, part of these studies actually involved that, where there would be a person in a separate room who would just have a video screen in front of them. And a person in the other room has a camera on them. They don't know when the camera is going to be showing their image to this person in the other room, and at random times, the image pops up. The person stares at them, and at the same time, they're taking readings of their skin resistance and finding that the body is sensing when people are staring at it. And again, so the person may or may not have known it, but their body knew it. And again, the first meta-analysis were people who self-identified as psychics. The second one were people just off the street. So again, there seems to be this difference between people who think they know what they're doing and people who don't think they know what they're doing. So be confident. So my view is, again, that we all have this biological electrical template. And what I think this research shows is that mental intention can affect the template. Whew, okay, I'm bringing it all around. You hung in there with me. Thank you for that. And I just want to take this one step farther and say that we have two selves within us. One is the higher self, and the other is, of course, the lower self. And in case you can't read the t-shirt, it says, "In dog beers, I've only had one." This is kind of a concept from Edgar Cayce, but I'll bet that you've all experienced the difference between these two. First of all, when you're having a conversation with yourself, a lot of times it's between these two parts of yourself. But also, if you've ever had the experience where you wake up in the morning and you're laying in bed and you're thinking about the dream that you just had, and wow, this is an amazing dream, and then all of a sudden you realize your bladder kicks in and you go to the bathroom and you come back to the bed and sit down and say, wait a minute, didn't I just have a dream? What was that about? The lower self, the conscious self, did not have that dream. It was your higher self that had the dream. And unless you can take that time to get it translated from the higher self to the lower self, it's gone, because the lower self didn't have the dream. So just to look at this a little closer, higher self is your deep sense of self. It's what gives meaning to life, life's purpose. It's about intuition, and it's about love. I think that's the basis. Whereas the lower self is more about ego and personality. It's the logical side of your brain, materialistic, critical, and is more into lust, what I want, what I have to have. And Edgar Cayce, the readings have kind of this neat concept of how this is all put together. So we have a body, and we have a conscious mind, which is most of our lower self, our personality and ego, but some of the subconscious mind is also part of the lower self. But then there's also a higher self, which has the superconscious mind, and also most of the subconscious mind. And so that's kind of how we're dividing ourselves up. And again, I'm having these sharp lines in between, but this is just a mental construct to help us understand what's going on in the real reality. So above that, we have the collective consciousness, which is where we're all connected. And then above that, we have the divine mind. And I believe that it is the mission of each of us to actually manifest this divine mind in our lives. And I think this also has to do with healing. So to me, this is kind of the definition of enlightenment, is manifesting the divine in our lives. Now, I've done a lot of work on healing, and no, this is not my veterinary clinic. I've studied, medical qigong, healing touch. I'm a Reiki master, and a lot of these systems are about channeling healing energy. And then I went on an ARE tour to Peru, and one of the guides was a healer, and he was saying, well, you know what? You don't have to channel anything. The divine is everywhere. All you have to do is acknowledge the divine, enliven the divine. And so that is what kind of got me this idea. So another reading. Know that all strength, all healing of every nature is created by changing the vibrations within, attuning of the divine within the living tissue of a body to creative energies. This alone is healing. And creative energies is another term that Cayce used for the divine. So again, all healing comes from the divine within. Here's another reading. I just found this one beautiful. How beautiful the face, how lovely the clouds. In his presence abide. You, every one of you, are before him just now. His face is turned toward you. His heart and his hand is offered you. Will you not accept him just now? How glorious the knowledge of his presence should awaken in the hearts of you. For he is lonely without you, for he has called each of you by name. Will you fail him now? So I wanted to guide us on an experience of this. And I think I'm already running over, so I apologize.
For the time we need.
Okay. Thank you. So what I've come up with is an affirmation. I am divine light and love. And when I'm calling on the I am, I'm calling on the higher self. I don't want that lower self to think that he's divine, right? So I am calling on my higher self. And then I'm reaching up higher to the divine light and love and embracing that. So what I'd like to do is lead us on a meditation using this affirmation. But as we go on, that the affirmation is going to morph a little bit. And we're going to change it and focus on different things. You'll get the gist of it as we go along. But the first phrase is on the inhalation, I am. And then on the exhalation is divine light and love. So it'll maintain that rhythm, but the first part of the statement will change as we go along. So please get yourself comfortable, feet flat on the floor if you would, everything off your lap. Close your eyes. Take a few nice, slow, deep breaths. And as you exhale, just allow your jaw to relax a little bit. Let it fall down, loosen. Feel that relaxation of your jaw spread across the mouth, the face, the head, and down the neck. And with the next exhalation, just allow your shoulders to drop a little bit. Allow them to relax. Feel that relaxation flow down into your arms, into your hands, to the tips of your fingers. And with the next exhalation, just feel your spine loosen up and your torso. Feel it all relax. And with your next exhalation, just allow your hips to relax and settle into the seat. Feel that relaxation go down your legs, into your feet, to the tips of your toes. And now while we have the body relaxed, our minds have the power to guide us. So I want you to think of someone that you really love, someone that you have this strong feeling of love for, and feel that love in your heart. Just feel the love. And focusing on the love, imagine that love in your heart as a bright white light glowing in your chest. And now call on your birthright with your inhalation, I am, and with the exhalation, divine light and love, and feel that light and love expand in your body. With each breath, I am, divine light and love. Keep feeling that light and love expand. Every cell of your body is glowing with divine light and love. I am divine light and love. And feel it shine into your mind, your conscious, subconscious, superconscious mind. Feel that light eliminating the darkness, cleansing, purifying your entire being. I am divine light and love. And now I want you to bring to mind a person or an animal that needs healing. Some individual who is suffering in some way. See them in your mind. And now as you inhale, say their name, and as you exhale, our divine light and love. So name is divine light and love. Name is divine light and love. And as you say these words to yourself, see this person or animal glowing with light and love. That is their true spiritual nature. And know that your intention is affecting them, even though they may not feel it. Name is divine light and love. See that light and love energizing the body and energizing the template of the body and fixing the connections between the body and that ideal template. Name is divine light and love. See them healing. See it, feel it, know it. Name is divine light and love. And now bring this back to yourself. I am divine light and love. Feel that light in your heart, this love spreading from your body. Feel it filling this whole room. And now you realize that all of us are divine light and love. We are divine light and love. We are bringing our lights together. We are divine light and love. Feel that light and love flowing across the world, across the universe. And now we realize that all people are divine light and love. Visualize every person on earth. All people are divine light and love. See every person lighting up. With each exhale, it's almost like you're blowing on an ember and it's just glowing brighter. All people are divine light and love. And now let's expand it further to all living things. All living things are divine light and love. The bacteria in and on our body, our pets, the wild animals, farm animals. All living things are divine light and love. The birds, the fish. All living things are divine light and love. And now expand it further. All of creation is divine light and love. The air we breathe, the clothes on our body, the chair, the floor, the building, the earth, the mountains, the hills. All of creation is divine light and love. The mountains, the streams, the oceans, the dirt, the planets, the galaxy, the universe. All of creation is divine light and love. Just take a few moments to feel this light and love within us and all around us. And now let's come back to ourselves. I am divine light and love, and just feel that energy back in your body. I am divine light and love. And let's come back to our bodies slowly, gradually. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. You're welcome. So another Cayce reading I think is very similar to the philosophy of unity. Be not merely good, but good for something, physically and mentally. So just learning about this, just working on ourselves is not enough. We need to go out and we need to do things. And gratitude is a good place to start. And a little bit of kindness doesn't cost you anything either, does it? And finally, I would say service is another thing that the Cayce readings really expounded on as being important. And with that, namaste.
Oh, thank you so much, Doug. That was wonderful, wasn't it? I feel like I could have sat in that energy for a very long time. Do you feel peaceful yet enlivened, right? It's just fascinating to pull in the science, which is now modern awareness that we're adding unto these teachings, right? These ancient teachings, actually. It reminds me when you're talking about electricity and the bioelectric field or the creative energies, as Cayce said, the Fillmores called that substance. And they said you can always access substance. It is readily available and it is abundant. It is eternal. It will never cease. So thank you very, very much. Give me another round of applause. Really enjoyed it. For everyone coming today, feel free to sign up for our email newsletter and keep you in the loop of future workshops and talks. And anyone who's watching from home, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And you can go back and you can watch this again and again on our YouTube channel, which is wonderful. It's wonderful when technology, assists us. So speaking of substance, this is the time of our service when we move into our prosperity practice. As I was mentioning earlier, the Fillmores understood deeply that abundance is always readily available to us. There's abundance in the air we breathe, in the cells of your body. There's evidence of abundance surrounding you every moment of the day. And when we give from the sense of knowing that Source is always available to us. There is unlimited supply. So let us move into our prayer of gratitude as we say together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. As we collect our offering this morning, Ronnie, would you sing for us the abundance blessing?
Okay, this is appropriate for this point in the service. I give thanks for the abundance in my life. Feel free to join. Thanks for the abundance in my life. I give thanks for the abundance as Spirit flows among us. I give thanks for the abundance in my life. I give thanks for all the bounty in my life. I give thanks for all the bounty in my life. I give thanks for all the bounty as the love of God surrounds me. I give thanks for all the bounty in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure. Giving back is such a pleasure. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life. I give thanks for all the treasure. Giving back is such a pleasure. I give thanks for all the treasure in my life.
Yeah, isn't it great? Doug, and you ended your talk this morning talking about gratitude and kindness and service. And so we speak from our hearts and we say, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing your energy and your love into this space. And thank you for these generous donations, which continue to allow us to thrive and prosper at Unity Center of Pittsburgh. I'm just so grateful to be here this morning. What a wonderful day. We're going to have some fellowship, some refreshments in there. So I think our announcements, we have stuff coming up. As a matter of fact, we're going to have a committee to clean up, which it's already underway. It's been looking pretty sharp outside, the flowers. But if you would like to join Julie Monkern, she is our beautification representative, and she does it so well, thank you. We have also Kenna, our good friend. She's probably in the kitchen. Oh, there she is, Kenna Raymond, and she is our membership growth representative, and we are excited about bringing forth other spiritual seekers, like-minded individuals like you, into our space, so we get to know one another, and we get to join our energy together. So Kenna is heading up a membership growth outreach committee. So if you would like to join, please feel free to talk to her about it. We also have coming up a real fun thing, Pittsburgh Trivia. It's going to be with Tricia Sullivan, August 20th. It's a Saturday evening, 7 o'clock, right, Tricia? In this room right here. And there's going to be some prizes and just fun. It's going to be a fun trivia night. Also, please put on your calendar, looking ahead, our fundraising spaghetti dinner is going to be coming up on September the 10th. You bet. And that's a Saturday here as well. And there's going to be all kinds of really cool, what do we call them, auctions and all kinds of stuff like that. And also, I just want to mention, I didn't make a slide yet, but Unity World Day of Prayer is September 8th. And we'll be here on Thursday night for prayer. And I think Julie is going to be bringing forth some yoga or Tai Chi. Yeah, so good. All this great stuff. Thank you again. Let's end with our closing prayer. The light of God surrounds me. I am light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. The presence of God watches over me. I am presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Amen, and so it is. Have a blessed day.